you guys don't get the credit that you deserve for what you've been able to do for women's wrestling, from being in the ring to our perception outside the ring. I do think that you get the credit from the girls that saw the work that you did. I think like we all know, but I think in terms of what is projected, in terms of what you guys did, you guys do not nearly get the credit that you deserve. What is that about?
It's hard. You know, I remember one time Triple H saying, perception is reality in this business, and we could perceive people however we want. And I think that's what's happened to Brie and I. I think when we were in the run, and I know AJ spoke about in her book, and I think has regretted a lot, because that could have been a time where we could have empowered women even more and like created more change. That was still a fight, and that locker room was really difficult, and a lot of women could speak about that. And I think that was the time when I saw so many women with their heads down that I was like, oh, I'm going to fight real hard for this.
Yeah.
And I think there were things said that made people perceive Brie and I as like, we only cared about reality TV and not wrestling, which was so beyond untrue. I didn't have to come back with reality cameras. I already had them with E. But I chose to come back to make sure that we showcased women's wrestling, because I thought what women were doing was so badass and they weren't being appreciated for it. And then it was like, I think when it came to Evolution, and the promo that Stephanie cut, you know, I think the wrestling industry believes so much of all those promos that are cut, because sometimes we do throw truth in it. And when we were blamed for everything, I feel like that is when the hate poured in. It was like that AJ time, when honestly Total Divas should have been praised even more, what I felt, because what we were doing was insane. We literally were at the point of almost beating the Kardashians in ratings. Like,
wow,
it was insane what we were doing in season 1. And they were even picking up more episodes.
Oh my God, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
Because we were shaking the world up, and like, what a great time. We could have had the industry behind us, but instead they used it to turn it against us. And that was like really shocking to me, because I was like, but wait, we're making great change for women's wrestling. Why are you hating on it?
What do you think that was about? Was it about like taking moving eyes to the reality show instead of just the wrestling? Was it that like women's wrestling was changing at the time and they really still wanted to coin you guys as divas? Like, what do you think that like opinion was?
Yeah, I think a lot on like a few, like as far as the boss, I felt like it was the first time he lost control of what he could make and not make.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because when Brie and I won Diva of the Year, we got in trouble and I got yelled at. And I remember being like we came back so happy, and it was like, oh, because you brought in all these new viewers and the women are now voting for you and all these new women are here for you too. And I was like,
your jaw must have been on the floor. What?
On the floor. Everyone around was on the floor. Like, the Bella twins are getting yelled at for being successful. Like, because it wasn't what they wanted, because they were the storytellers. They push who they want the crowd to be behind. Just perception is reality. That is WWE to a T. They tell, even though the fans think they own it, no, they laugh in the back. No, we own you at the end of the day. You're chanting that because we just made you believe in something. It's fun to watch it, because it's like you see one part of people thinking they're running the show, and then you see the people in the back,
like the full marionette.
Oh, we're running.
Yep.
So I truly believe Total Divas was the first thing they couldn't control. They couldn't control the success. They couldn't control what mainstream was. There was no control. So that was hard on one side, because they lost that. And then I think everyone backstage truly thought we were going to fail. And when we weren't, I don't like to use the word envy or jealousy, but I think there was a bit, and we all kind of get that. I've had that in my life. And
there's a really funny feeling, I think, sometimes of like, yeah, I don't know if it's a fear or an envy or what it is, but it's almost like when you're in and you're working, you're on the road, you're doing all these things, you kind of think that that's the cap. But everybody knows we want to go off and do movies. You want to go do this. You want to do X, Y, and Z. But there's always sort of that big question mark of like, well, you're not actually going to be able to make it. And then you do.
Yeah. And that brought in a lot of hate. That like within people in the back. It brought like, amazing things for like some people were super supportive, and then there were some that were hate, and then some got the mic and they just really expressed it. And it was sad to me. I remember that time. It gave me great fire and it made for great story. But I wish like people wouldn't have believed it beyond that. But it was also sad for me because to slut shame or
Mm.
really just tear women down, I was not for that. Like I remember when I had to cut a promo on Kong before Brie and I had left for 11 months. And I just remember feeling like shit. And I went with what they said on paper.
Yeah.
I just hated that feeling. It was so wrong. And I talked to Kia before, but like Kia and I even talked after. It just didn't feel good. And I didn't like it. I was like, I don't want cheap pops from the crowd anymore. And
Yeah.
especially if it's not approved by the woman. And I could have said a lot more stuff on the mic to get these greater reactions. It was never worth it to me because at the end of the day, I was like, we're still telling stories. And that's kind of how I left the rest of my career. But then some of the stuff that would be said to me on a hot mic with, you know, not even realizing, I just remember being inside, like just disappointed of like, okay, we just took 5 steps back.
Right.
Instead of
Right.
like just tearing these barriers down, breaking them, which we still shattered them, but it just took even more work. And then I just have to live with this hate in this industry. And it's hard on me because I love wrestling.
Yeah.
What I did, I love what I do. I love everything about it. But I will just have to carry this cloud of hate with me.
Was it hard to go to work during that when you're feeling that way with people? You're still having these and like for people that don't understand, like having those cameras on you all the time, you've got a mic pack that's burning through your bra, like you've got all these things that are happening, and then just feeling this negative energy from everybody. Was that hard to go to work during that?
So in the beginning, it was hard. And then I was like, you know what? You can woman up and you can make this something.
Yeah.
And I remember one day looking at my ex and go, every day I'm walking in, I'm going to war and I'm going to pack up, I'm going to suit up, and I'm going to go in there, I'm going to win this thing. And I just got this fire. And I think that's what really helped create Fearless Nikki is even whether it was filming a scene or just walking in to go to catering, I was like, I'm going to just, you know, own the place, not be affected. And if I give myself this energy and this feeling, I'll be unbothered. I'm going to live rent free in everyone's head. And I'm just going to do my thing. And it really helped me. It helped me conquer a lot. Like I just took that fire and I rose up like a phoenix and I was like, here we go.
So that being said, you were having some fucking kick-ass matches. Like, and again, giving you the credit that you deserve because you and Brie go out there and have these amazing matches. You guys are incredible athletes. And I think probably when that fire is connecting with that athletic side of you, you were really having some like incredible matches. Was that kind of two things coming together at once for you?
Totally. And you know what it was as well? I was not that I was like, no more Mrs. Nice girl, because that I was, you know, still kind to people, but I was like, you know what? I'm done being passive in that way because when we were at FCW, no cameras were around. We were doing kick-ass matches, but no one ever saw that. We were just in an era. And when I came up on the road, it was like, can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. Oh, just go out there, let them like throw you around, make sure pull hair, slap butt. And I listened. And I listened all the time. And I should have fought for myself. I should have fought on everything I learned as an athlete, as a professional wrestler. And I should have went out there and showcased. And I did it. So when that fire came about, I was like, no one's telling me no anymore. They don't want to do my move that I just learned or this sequence that I think looks really badass. They don't want to treat me like I'm a powerful woman. Well, then get in line. I'll fight someone else tonight. Like
Yeah.
we're just gonna go out there and do it. And I feel like with that fire and then just going out there, it like created a whole different person that I wish I was. But you know, I had to
Yeah.
learn a lot. And now I take that even into what I do now. It's like the whole apologize later is such a good thing to go
Yeah.
into because it lets you be you, what you have in here. And it took me to get all that fire to finally go out there and be that person.